After hanging up his uniform, Capt.Santhosh Kumar took up a very different mission in Bengaluru. Armed with century-old maps and years of fieldwork, he helped revive Bengaluru's forgotten Raja Colways, which are the ancient stormwater channels that once connected the city lakes. His efforts have contributed to the restoration of 14 lakes and demonstrated how reviving traditional water systems can reduce flooding while recharging groundwater. Joining us now is retired Army officer Capt.Santhosh Kumar. Thank you, sir, for such a remarkable work. I congratulate you for reviving the old water bodies. But what came to your mind? I mean to say, it's not something that has been hidden from people that lakes are disappearing. What came to your mind, and how did you start reviving these water bodies?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for inviting me to explain my work, why I got into this, and how important, first of all, is how important is this water bodies for any civilization to survive. Without water, we will not be able to do anything. See, basically, if you see Bangalore as a city, it has got 1,000 plus lakes, which are all man-made lakes. Most of the lakes in the Bangalore, what you see is a man-made lakes. And each lake is interconnected to each other, where water falls at one elevation, say at around 1,000 feet elevation, water falls and it will reach to the 800 feet elevation lake, which is around 30 to 40 kilometers from the place of rain is happening. When I came to Bangalore in 2008-9, after completing my stint in the army, I noticed we had a normal rainfall is happening across Bangalore, but somehow our lakes are found to be dry. And wherever this rain is falling, and it is not reaching where it's supposed to be reaching. And wherever the rain is coming, it is getting flooding, it is creating unnecessary problems to the people, and crops are getting washed away. And when we require water, we don't get. When we don't want water, it is getting flooded. At that time, I decided to find out the reason why these things are happening. Whereas in my childhood, in the same area where I did all this work, I grown up and everything was in system. After so many years, when I came off the armed forces, I see this thing, a mismanagement or some disconnect is happening. Then I started investigating on ground. Then I found out we initially, when we are growing up, we used to see a lot of stormwater drains, what we call it as Rajakalaways. And there is to be something called as secondary drains. There is something called as a tertiary drains. Initially, what happens from one lake to another lake, this Rajakalaways, stormwater drains, what we call, carry water from one upper elevated lake to the lower elevation lake. And it is all natural. No pumping is required, nothing. Whenever water falls, the sufficient amount of water will get percolate. Rest of the water, the excess water will flow from one area to another area, one lake to another area. When I was trying to investigate, I found out most of these drains, either they are got encroached, either they got silted, and those were not available on the ground to carry the water, the hydraulic lift, what they are supposed to be carrying. Then I started investigating. While I was investigating, I was surprised to see, because I came from the army background, where all of our job happens on the maps. Then I started digging out why this lake is not receiving the water it's supposed to be receiving. Then I found out most of these drains were not properly cleared. Then we started an exercise in 2021. I found out in a stormwater drain which was encroached for about 70 plus years. When we cleared that stormwater drain for about 4 kilometers, next monsoon, say about another 15-20 days, the rain started. The moment the rain started, the lake which is supposed to be receiving the water is completely received and the lake was filled. Similar way, we started finding out multiple lakes which is around my area, and each case was not different from the what we have started. But one thing we found out, all these lakes were supposed to be getting linked by the Rajakalaways, stormwater drains, which was not happening. That was the initial, the ignition started to me find out why these lakes are not getting filled, whereas the water, whichever the waterfall is happening, and it is getting flooded. That's where the whole thing started.
So what was your biggest challenge? You know, you had the map, you understood the cartography. So what was the biggest challenge? Was it?
See, first we need to see. We had map. I had maps. In fact, I tried to dig out. I found out. Then I received all the information. There I found out this British era maps, which was some of the maps were done in 1886. Some of the maps were done in 1920s and all. Because British has done a wonderful documentation of these lakes, these lake connecting stormwater drains and the tertiary drains and the this thing what we call it as main primary, secondary, tertiary drains. Everything was documented, but in the ground people were not aware there was a drains, and some of these drains has got silted. They are not maintained. They are not cleared these drains, and some of the drains were encroached. That was the biggest challenge. Once I got this data, then I went to the department and I told the government officials, this is what it is. We need to clear these drains. In one of the drains, we pooled our own money to clear the 4-kilometer drain from the Muttanalluru lake, where I born in Muttanalluru, and is my own this thing. And we had one of the second largest lake in the whole area. And once we cleared the drain, then I was able to demonstrate it to the people. And in fact, the district administration led by
Mr. Santhosh, you know, such things are very people-centric. Did you get support from people? Did people came out? Did volunteers came out? Or it has been a lone battle sort of a thing?
When I started this movement, initially I faced some problems. And then what I did is I started involving youth. I went to the government official. Luckily, that time the district collector was Manjunath J. In fact, he came in front and he said, Captain, you get on the ground, I'll support you, whatever support you require. Then the resources we pooled, I had a like-minded people who came front. They gave the escalators to me. We started using JCBs. We started using heavy earth moving equipment. In fact, that work went for 100 days to clear the 4-kilometer of drain. That's where this whole thing started. That was the first drain from Muttanalluru to the Battalekere and then leading to the Bidruguppe lake.
Okay, can I ask you one thing? How many lakes do you think Bengaluru has lost because of illegal construction? And how many lakes you think can be revived now?
See, whatever study I did and whatever inputs I got, we had 1,000+ lakes. If you see list of all the 1,000+ lakes, easily I can say that we have lost more than 150+ lakes, which they were there some 30-40 years. Today they are not there on the ground, but they are there on the documents. Because of the urbanization,
can those lakes be revived? Can those lakes be revived, or they are gone? Because in North India, houses have been built on river lake beds.
Same thing with here also, because of passage of time. These lakes, if you see the 100+ whatever lakes I said, some 30-40 years back, those got encroached. And if you see the lot of construction, and even if you try to see, luckily, I am from Anekal Taluk. Luckily, we had 254 lakes in Anekal Taluk. We were able to identify all the 252 lakes. To my this thing, I was lucky to have all the lakes available in Anekal Taluk. And this is not the same with the other taluks.
So what do you want to do now? How many more lakes you want to revive? What is your target?
Now I'm working out to link out another 40+ lakes. In fact, a lot of NGO people are approaching me. A lot of people who are interested and villagers are approaching me to get into this drain clearance. I always tell them, instead, before you develop any lake, first you need to develop the channels which are carrying the water to the lake. Without having any supply of water, how can you think of even developing a lake? First, you need to make a channel. That water has to flow from one point to another point. Whatever rainfall falls, that rain has to reach into the place where it ultimately has to reach. That's how it is, because people need to understand the basics. All these things flow with the hydraulic. These all elevation based.
So, you know, do lakes do lakes impact the climate in Bengaluru positively?
Yes, we are working on a few of the lakes, and soon we are giving a proposal to the government. Because what is happening here, most of these lakes, what I develop, I don't depend on the government fund. I want public to get involved. I want public to come in. Until unless public don't come in and don't work, they will never be having any ownership on those assets, because it is a community resources. See, government will do their job. When we need to approach the government, without approaching them, putting all the blame on the state authority will not work. In my case, government came in my support. Whenever I started, officials were there. I gone and approached them and explained it to them. What will be the impact? How it needs to be done? Because everyone will not be having the knowledge. Since I worked in the armed forces, I seen Kashmir Valley, I seen Gujarat, and I got an example of multiple states, how these whole things work. I explained it to them, how these are naturally can be connected. Once it get it, because everything, if you see, Raja Chola, some 1,000 years back has done so much to the our Bangalore district. If you see, most of these lakes, major lakes were done at that time. So our job is to only to clear those drains and connect them. That's all. Because everything they were given hundreds of thousands of acres of resources to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. And to my viewers, he is the man who did a fabulous job for the city of Bengaluru by reviving the old lakes, by rebuilding the entire system which was there, part of the colonial record, but the people had forgotten. A crisis that has shaken the foundation of education system and left over 22 lakh students in a state of absolute despair.
कटोरा लेके नौजवान भीख मांगता रहे, यही चाहते हैं मोदी जी.
Mental agony, the mental stress that they will have to go through.
देखिए, इसमें सीबीआई जांच कर रही है. सीबीआई को पूरा साथ हमारी पुलिस देगी.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9, English news as it should be.
Tonight, the battle for young India takes center stage. A generation that's changing India's politics and the institutions now trying to understand it. Has the RSS rewritten its playbook, especially for the Gen Z? Why is Mohan Bhagwat calling protests part of democracy and urging dialogue over dictation? Then, the invisible plastic making its way from our rivers to your dinner plates. And then finally, into our bodies. And later, an exclusive conversation with one of India's brightest boxing stars, Jasmine Lamboria, on chasing Commonwealth glory and the Olympic dreams. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi. First, the top headlines. RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat rejects labeling Gen Z as anti-national, says protesting is a way of dialogue. Centre reduces timeline for removal of unlawful content on social media from 36 to just 3 hours now. Ministry of IT also makes AI content labeling now mandatory. Founder of Tehelka magazine, Tarun Tejpal, sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment in the 2013 sexual assault and rape case. Indian origin NASA astronaut Dr. Anil Menon conducts his first ever spacewalk outside the International Space Station. The Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh has been seen as an organization rooted in tradition, hierarchy and discipline. But today in Mumbai, the Sangh attempted something very different. RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat addressed nearly 2,000 students between the ages of 15 and 19, drawing from more than 100 plus cities at the IIMUN conference. Officially, the theme was the role of youth in uniting the world, the Indian way. But politically, this was bigger than a student interaction, because this comes barely weeks after the nationwide student unrest over examination issues, the Jantar Mantar protests and the resignation of former Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. It is being viewed by many as the Sangh Parivar's biggest outreach to Generation Z in years. And Mohan Bhagwat's message was noticeably different from the traditional image many associate with the RSS. He said protests are a legitimate form of democratic dialogue, that Gen Z's grievances are valid, that young people are asking questions because they deserve answers, and that leaders must replace dictation with discussion. Perhaps his most striking remarks were these. He said Gen Z is not anti-national, that no one should casually be branded anti-national, and that today's generation may actually be more honest than the current one. When asked about police action against the protesting students, Bhagwat said he did not have enough information to comment on the lathi charge, adding that dialogue, not confrontation, should remain the preferred path, ending on the note that if you would ask me to believe them blindly, well, I'm ready to do so. Listen in to some of those excerpts from that Maha RSS outreach.
एनजी अगर एजुटेशन कर रही है तो एंटी नेशनल तो है नहीं, अपने लोग हैं, अपनी नेक्स्ट जनरेशन है जी सर। इस अपनेपन से डायलॉग का साथ मैंने बोला अपनापन चाहिए, संबंध चाहिए, वो हमारा संबंध है, उसका रिकॉग्निशन चाहिए, तब ये डायलॉग होता है। वहाँ की बात हमको समझ में आती है, हमारी बात वहाँ समझ में आती है, ये होता है, तो होना चाहिए।